you're an NSX.
No. Ooh.
Yeah. So
nice car.
So I saw that, and this is funny. I was like, you know how Burgess is ex-NFL, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, is he here? So I just guessed, because I saw the nice car. I'm like, oh, maybe he's here. And then I see him get out of the car, and I'm like, I don't think that's Burgess, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never met the guy. I forgot we saw the book cover at Peace Legal at Ogden, but gosh, I wish Joe would. Is he? So he's not doing a show the whole week?
I think we're filling in for him all week.
I wanted to show you to do this with him on air, but I guess that's not going to happen.
That's okay.
For Monday.
We can still review, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Loving Liberty. I'm Bryan Hyde. Mo is taking your calls at 801-254-1640 because he's our producer. And by the way, let's see, there was something else I needed to point out here. Oh, yes. Just wanted to let you know that Jeanette Finicum is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. I missed out on a lot of last week's developments in court. I understand there was a lot more discussion from the various police officers who were at the roadblock. There was some discussion about the ballistics and how they determined which bullets came from where. It's my understanding that the defense, I believe, has started calling witnesses this week, but I missed out on a good deal of the updates. I don't know that there were any bombshells, but I'm looking forward to connecting up with Jeanette Finicum, and that should happen again here in roughly 10 minutes or so. We'll have her join us for a quick update. I love getting it from her perspective because she's got skin in the game.
Oh, she lost the most.
One thing that she said last week that has stuck with me, and to me this speaks to her character and to the approach that she is taking, which I think is a lot more humble than what you're seeing from those who are approaching from the government side. She talked about how one of the officers who was being questioned was asked on the stand, so at that point, did you feel that the passengers, or did you feel the people in this vehicle, meaning LaVoy Finicum's truck, did you feel that they were a threat? And the officer asked, do you want my opinion? And the person questioning said, well, I just want you to say, did you think that they were a threat at this point? And the officer hesitated and then said, I believe that they were a potential threat. And she said that's the first human, that first show of humanity that really she's seen from a lot of from these officers since this case even began. Because I mean no disrespect when I say this, but cop jargon is kind of clinical and detached, and it's I observed the perpetrator doing this and that.
She proceeded to engage me.
I helped the perpetrator to the ground for his safety and mine. I mean, there's a whole rhetoric that they speak, but in this case, Officer, Iceman, actually showed he showed some humanity there, and I think that that's good to remember. Not only from the standpoint of maybe there are some of those guys who are testifying who are starting to grasp that, hey, maybe there was more here that we weren't told. But it's also good that we remember too that behind the uniform, behind the badge, those are people, and anger and the sense of injustice should never blind us to the fact we're dealing with other human beings.
I think, and it's probably fair that I'm sure that they've been advised to speak lightly too, right? And so it's in that situation, they're looking out for themselves, and you know what I mean. Not to say that that I'd be any different. Maybe I don't know.
They definitely are. Nobody's eager to stick their head through the noose. Nobody wants to say the wrong thing and land themselves or one of their brother officers in trouble.
Exactly.
And it's worth noting that in Las Vegas, it was one BLM agent who was testifying about all the stuff leading up to the standoff in April of 2014, who accidentally went off script and pointed to the existence of a camera that was being used to surveil the Bundys, and that thread, when it was pulled on, unraveled a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of information. I'm talking like a terabyte of information that had been withheld from the defense in discovery.
How many gigabytes is a terabyte?
I mean, that's like fill up a laptop computer. It was more than that. I mean, it was a lot. But a lot of it included what they were calling exculpatory or potentially exculpatory evidence. And in this case, one of the key points of the indictment against the Bundys was, well, you know, they lied. They told these militia members to come running because, you know, they felt that they were under siege and the government was gearing up to kill them and was threatening them, and none of that was true. Except when we started pulling on that thread and we started to see that, no, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't given up in discovery or given to the defense in discovery that showed absolutely that was true. There was a militarized task force. There were FBI terrorism, you know, agents, anti-terrorism agents who were there on scene long before the roundup even started.
How long were they under surveillance before this?
Weeks. In the weeks, days and weeks ahead of it.
What, like on their own property?
Well, on public property around them, but surveilling them and keeping an eye on them, and they had listening posts and observation posts, which are part of any military operation, to know what the enemy is up to. I mean, it was very clear that the government went in there much more heavy-handed than they should have, and among the things that came out, how many threat assessments have been done against about the Bundy family? What did those threat assessments show? And what they showed was these guys really aren't a danger unless you back them into a corner, and then you might get punched in the nose. Sorry, I'm a little bit wound up. I'll try to get back on topic here, but the bottom line is it was one witness on the stand who misspoke, and the whole house of cards came crashing down. And I'm sure that because of that, and because of the fact that federal prosecutors failed to obtain a conviction of Ammon and Ryan and others, in Oregon, I'm sure the federal government is doing everything it can to try to save face and make sure that nobody say the wrong thing here. The fact that a man was killed ups the ante, because the accountability for that, I mean, taking a human life is very serious. And if it was done based on bad or adulterated information, somebody really should be held accountable for that. And that would probably go above the officers who were involved and above this agent, Astorita, who's currently on trial. But we probably won't get to see that happen, or the potential for that happening, until Jeanette Finicum's wrongful death suit comes out.
If we did something like that, would we be held accountable?
Yeah, I think this is the classic, different set of laws for thee and for me. No, it's totally different, but it's very serious.
They play dirty.
Well, and
well, you know what I mean.
To me, the most intolerable part of that is, there's some playing dirty. There's shading of the facts, or trying to, for instance, last week, as I understood it, as I read the summaries of what happened in the courtroom, it sounded a lot more like they were putting Lavoy Finicum on trial rather than Astorita. So that's a little bit hard to swallow. But we're not supposed to question, those who are in authority. We're supposed to believe that the Oregon State Police and members of the FBI hostage rescue team did us a favor by shooting Lavoy Finicum in the back on that day.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but oh shoot, no, I'm not even. They're of course going to defend their own.
The system looks after its own.
Yeah.
Although in this case, what makes this particular trial so interesting is you have two parts of that system that are now struggling. Which one of you gets to be thrown under the bus? Because there are truths that are coming out. There are some things that are coming to light that are inconvenient at best and damning at worst. So who's going to take the fall?
I don't know. They might. Who knows? There could be. They pay or hire a fall man, right? I'm just kidding. Well, I guess that's not the most outrageous notion, is it? That they would do something like that. Unknown people have taken the fall for big organizational issues all the time.
I think the real question is going to come down to what is in the minds of those jurors. And there's times where I've really doubted, that juries are going to do the right thing. And sometimes they are a slave to, well, the judge said, we're here just to judge the facts and see if the law was broken.
It only takes one, though.
But it only takes one.
And have you ever had a chance to do jury duty in your life?
Yeah. I didn't get seated.
Yeah,
no, they weeded me out.
I was like, I've never met anyone who's actually not a lot of people that I know have done it, but even the ones that were chosen never make it through. I would like to be part of that one day.
I think it's actually one of the greatest honors that any of us can have. But I didn't feel that way always. I was like, oh no, jury duty. Now I understand the importance of it. And who knows? We'll see if this jury is buying what is being said by the defense or not. We'll be back on Loving Liberty. Jeanette Finicum joins us right after this. Hey, would you mind giving her a quick shout?
Jury duty, man.
Yeah.
And it's like they're supposed to like not watch the news. They're not supposed to discuss the trial. They're supposed to be impartial and stuff. But you know that they do that stuff. You know what I mean? Even though
Without a doubt.
Immigration issues are all over the news. There are rapid changes happening in the law. My name is Allison Johnson, and I'm an attorney with Peace Legal Law Firm. I work with individuals and families in handling of immigration issues. You have certain rights and protections under the law, and I believe you shouldn't be afraid or timid to exercise those rights. They are in place to help and protect you. Our website is www.peacelegal.net, and we have 5 offices here in Utah: Ogden, Salt Lake City, Sandy, Orem.
Okay, it looks like Jeanette is
to make it convenient for you
lined up to join us.
If you would like to speak with an immigration attorney,
So many good topics and so little time.
801-876-5297. My name is Allison Johnson, and the phone number is 801.
You guys having fun?
Are we ever?
Somebody else cover up the cameras. They're so paranoid, dude. What?
What's that?
Yeah, what?
Oh, they did, didn't they?
Covering up the cameras.
Yeah, the cameras.
Who?
Yeah.
Police watching. Oh, the government's watching. I was like, Paul Jensen.
I'm hoping that she's on there because this line is not showing on here. But
Sorry, yeah. That has been doing that.
Okay.
But we've been okay, I think.
Okay.
Like, we got the other dude.
if for
on
some
there.
reason she doesn't come up, can you
course.
quickly give her a call?
Of course.
Hopefully this will go right through.
She's ready to go, I think. Can we, I wonder, yeah, maybe we take her out of the program and audition, and maybe we can hear her.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I was like, I would like to mess with that thing. I'm not interested.
That's 801-876-5297. Our consultations are free, and we will always work hard. Peace Legal. We're a refreshingly different type of law firm.
Hey, this is Stan Ellsworth. Believe it or not, I wrote a book. Yeah, man, it's about the heroes of the American Revolution. Kind of like
All right.
same mindset and all. You can get yours on Amazon today. So, man, get your Patriot on. Let your spirit of '76 shine loud and proud, baby. Get you some. Renegades and Rebels. That's us, man.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not from government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt, doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call us at 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or check us out online at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Loving Liberty. I'm Bryan Hyde. I want to welcome Jeanette Finicum joining me by telephone. Hello, Jeanette.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I am well, and I hope you are as well. I missed visiting with you last week. I've looked at many of the updates, the summary of what happened in court last week. Was there anything particularly earth-shaking that you'd like to share with our listeners?
last week was a very eventful week. It was interesting to see and listen to the expert witnesses testify in reference to the forensics, the trajectories of the bullet. And what was so very striking is that once the different witnesses testified to their positions, and you were able to put the 3D model together with that, and then the cone of the trajectory analysis, it is Asterita who is clearly the only one standing within that cone. And so that was pretty substantial, if you ask me. Today we've been listening to the defense because the prosecution rested yesterday I should say, and today the defense started their witnesses and expert witnesses, and we've listened to 2 thus far, and we have 2 more, and then they are going to put Agent Asterita on the stand this afternoon.
Wow.
And I imagine they will rest today, and tomorrow we will go into closing arguments and jury instructions.
So this could go to the jury before the end of this week then?
Yes, I'm guessing tomorrow.
What are your observations of the jury? You had mentioned last time we talked that you noticed that the jurors were very attentive, they were taking notes. Have you seen anything else in their demeanor that would give you an indication of what is holding their interest?
I think that they're just taking this responsibility very seriously, and I'm grateful for that. They're listening to the experts. They're actively engaged in the process. For instance, yesterday when they took the jury and one reporter downstairs to where the truck was located, they actually got on top of the truck so they could see the bullet hole in question for themselves. 4 or 5 of the men. They want to know, and so I'm grateful for a jury who is actively engaged.
Is there any talk of again trying to work with Ryan Bundy regarding the fragment of metal in his shoulder, and is it possible that could play any role in this case in establishing some accountability for who fired that bullet?
I think it's too late for that in this case. They did speak with Ryan Bundy, according to the testimony that I've heard, but they claimed that Ryan Bundy was making unreasonable demands, which they could not meet. Therefore, they did not use that fragment. Whether it's a metal fragment or a bullet fragment, we don't know in this case. However, I think that we can use it in my case.
Well, and that was my next question. Actually, was what are we looking at as far as a timetable for the wrongful death suit that you have filed to finally get underway?
We're looking at entering the discovery phase come the first of the year, according to the judge that we met with last month and her projection of how things would go. And so if we enter the discovery phase, and I imagine it'll be quite a long period of time, maybe 8 or 9 months that we're going to have to go through the discovery, request. We have to depose lots of different witnesses and getting prepared for trial. So hopefully by the end of next year, we will be in trial.
Wow. So it could be this time or later next year before it ever actually goes to trial.
Correct. There's so much work to be done. I had no idea. I'm not familiar with the legal process, but sitting in this courtroom and watching this trial, there is so much to prepare for. So we have our work cut out for us, but I'm encouraged because of the evidence that we've been able to glean from this particular trial. Is going to be most helpful for us.
Are you still seeing familiar faces, people who you have met over the last couple of years? Do you still have people who come to visit, sit with you in court, and otherwise lend support?
Absolutely. There's people from all over. I've also been touring while I've been here with the documentary, The Voice Finicum, Dead Man Talking, and there's been hundreds of people showing up at different locations to see that episode 1 of that documentary, and supporting my family and continuing to be there for us. But also in court, we have some wonderful people that continue to come here and sit and support and to be witnesses of the process.
Jeanette, the last time we spoke, you had indicated that one of the officers who was testifying actually showed kind of an unexpected moment of humanity. And I'm curious, have you seen any more glimpses of that humanity in any of the other people who have testified or otherwise, participated in the proceedings?
There's been a couple of instances. I wish I could pull that up, but I know it's been 2 or 3 total, which is not very many, but that's okay. We only needed one Larry Wooten,
Right. Well, I so appreciate you making the time to keep us up to date, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. I'll be very interested if Astorita is on the stand today and what he has to say. And, I have a lot of people who know that when they know that I'm talking with you say, be sure to tell Jeanette how much we love her. So I'm conveying that love to you and that support. And thanks again for making time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, and thank you to everybody who is listening. And we love you too. God bless.
Okay, thank you so much. Jeanette Finicum joining us from Portland, Oregon. Man, so it could go to the jury as soon as this week. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this out there just because my heart is kind of telling me this is pray that those jurors who are considering this evidence and considering what has been presented to them will have understanding, that they'll have discernment and be able to sort between fact and fiction, truth and error, and pray that their best nature, the best parts of their hearts will be aware of the opportunity they have to either right or wrong, or to see that justice, and I mean in the truest sense, is observed here. Sometimes it feels like we are up against absolutely overwhelming odds. And especially anybody who looked at the case, when the Bundys went to trial, felt that, wow, the deck is so stacked against them, there's just no way they could ever prevail. I'm sure in the way that, the wagons have been circled here, and the way the Oregon State Police as well as the FBI have more or less circled the wagons to protect themselves, or at least not be vulnerable. There's another sense that, man, the system is just going to protect its own. And yet little miracles have happened all along the way. And if you want to try something interesting, a friend pointed out to me this morning Psalms 37. And I would just recommend, if you haven't ever looked at Psalms 37, that's a very reassuring passage of Scripture. It's something that you may want to look at, because it makes very clear that sometimes it's in the simple, humble things, for the people who are exercising their faith, who don't appear to have any advantage whatsoever, but they have the greatest power in the universe backing them up. And on the other hand, those who are corrupt, those who are proud, the ones who have all the riches of the world at their disposal and seemingly are just untouchable, are the ones who will be made humble, because they're up against the greatest power of this in the universe, and that is the creator of the universe. So, thus endeth my sermon, but I just found it very interesting. If you check out Psalms 37, I think you would find some great food for thought there. Might even be worth sharing with a friend here and there. All right, we got to pay a couple of bills. We're going to take a quick break from Loving Liberty. When we come back, I've got a couple different topics. I'm going back and forth on this. I want to touch on medical tourism.